This story of the Plant Avenue Ghosts speaks to spirits which inhabit a charming suburban boulevard which runs through one of the better sectors of Webster Groves, Missouri, near St. Louis. In the 300 block of Plant Avenue, there are mainly large bungalow-type houses, standing in wide plots and surrounded by shrubbery and trees. One of these houses is a 2-story wooden brick structure of uncertain style, but distinguished looking style. The roof suggests Old English influence, and the downstairs windows of Old Southern, but the overall effect is that of a house built by an individualist. It does not look like any house there, but again, it's not out of place. The downstairs contains a large living room, a day room, and a kitchen with a rear exit into the garden. And from the living room there is a winding staircase to the upper floor, where the bedrooms are located. The house was built in the final years of the last century by a strange man known as Mr. Gann, who was a circus manager, and who did not mix well with his neighbours, who lived and died quietly. In 1956, the house passed into the hands of Mr. and Mrs. Furry, who had 2 married daughters. The first reports of Plant Avenue ghosts and ghostly activity were when, the night after night at precisely 2 a.m., with a feeling of having been shaken awake. One night Mrs. Furry heard the sound of a heavy hammer hitting the headboard, but the lights were put on and there was no indication of such. The third incident could only be described as the sound of a heavy bird beating on the bedroom window, and upon inspection there was nothing to be seen. On another occasion, a heavy wall-mounted wall fitting was found on the floor, with no reason for such. As well, there was often the sounds of heavy footsteps coming from above. Her husband also experienced these phenomena, but shrugged them off until he saw a filmy white shape go through the door into an adjoining bedroom. It was only when their children reported ghosts visiting and interacting with them that they abandoned the house. At this time, the Walsh family then occupied the house, but were told nothing of the ghosts in their house. Their dog reacted by cringing, and Mrs. Walsh noticed a white cloud, roughly the shape and size of a human being, float in the open door leading into the living room. This served to reinforce thoughts that she had about the reality of the paranormal, and it was an indication to her that she had psychic talents. It was noticed that no matter how often it was closed, the door to the attic would be found open. It was agreed that the house was haunted by 2 or more ghosts, which came to be known as the Plant Avenue Ghosts. In the basement, while doing a washing, Mrs. Walsh watched a hanging sweater be lowered to the ground, and she asked the ghost why it had did that and what was its name. Her mind flashed a name, Mary. At this time it was noticed that some unseen entity was moving objects around the attic, as well as a child-like scrawl in the dust of the room. She also noticed a child's handprint in the dust of the attic, which was not a surprise, because she had also heard the sound of a child crying and on occasion humming. It occurred to Mrs. Walsh that the ghosts were a family who had previously occupied the house, but did not know they were dead. She wondered how to tell them. It got to be too much for the family, especially the poor dog, who was transforming from a mild-tempered sort to a neurotic, fear-ridden animal. The family moved, and the ghosts evidently are still there. Thank you.